right, here we go. So, Hawkeye, I'm going to address what you said yesterday, and I'm going to actually make this available to the public. Normally, for the record, for the VIP members, we've been doing what we would call an inspirational huddle since the beginning of January, where we're dealing with the elements of being a man, being a woman, the emotional state, the physical state, the mental state, and how do we tie that to the Word of God and make it important for us and relevant for us today. Sometimes people interpret the word as old and outdated and not relevant, and I think it's more relevant than it's ever been, to be honest with you, in a lot of different respects. And in some respects, it's historical and taken out of context. And I'm not going to get into that with people today, but welcome, VIP, IBOs. I want to thank you guys for coming. Hawkeye proposed a question to me yesterday. It's been kind of eating on me the last 24 hours. And the question is what is the difference of territory and states? And it's a huge difference from a standpoint of how we're operating. And it's no difference from a standpoint of area. But from a jurisdictional position standpoint, it's everything. And the reason why he asked that question is um, the Republic for the United States of America leadership has been utilizing what is known as the Northwest Ordinance to um, hire people into positions that are otherwise not yet seated or settled. And and I'm not going to get into the legalese of any of this. What we're going to get into today is how do we bring sanity to an insane situation, which is what is going on in Republic. I've always said to people, when I watched the Republic get ripped apart in 2012, 10, 11, 12, 13, I came under personal attack and I was fired by Tim Turner, acting president. And the people overwhelmingly put me back into the spot where I was, and me and Tim got a kind of a chuckle over it because I forced a play on him in front of a couple hundred people in Utah, and it was fun. It was a couple of brothers, realizing that we're under attack, and what that means is spiritual attack, physical attack, and that by definition, I'm going to explain some things to you guys today so you see the world in a different picture. Do you remember the Bundys? I'm not talking about Al Bundy. I'm talking about the Bundys in Nevada. They were they had a cattle grazing patent that allowed them to graze their cattle any time of the year that they wanted to in this particular area. It's been something that was in their house for 150 years. Well, in the 70s, the BLM came out and said, "Hey, look, join us. $100 a year, kind of a thing. This is what they do to everybody. This is what the DMV does. This is with drivers. This is how they get everybody. It starts small, cheap, benefits. We got benefits, and the reality is the payments got ridiculous, and they started barking orders where you can graze, where you can do all these kinds of things. So the bunnies came under attack. But what was really happening in the background is all the farmers in the region came under attack, and it was because the senators had made deals with foreigners to sell that land off in advance and take a part of a major deal that was taking effect, and the Bundys were the holdout. So the Bundys ended up having three trials. Their lives were raked. They were treated like garbage. They had many of their cattle killed, shot. But America rose, and America came together, and thousands of people went to go and support the Bundys. And there was an altercation one day where it felt like it was going to be violence between the federal government. The federal government had snipers and all kinds of things set up, against the people, but the people had the same thing and were ready to defend. And we truly knew, when I say we, I wasn't there, but we truly knew we were in a position where we were in the right and the federal government was in the wrong. And everything that the Bundys did was lawful and legal. And the federal government was overreaching, and it was determined in three separate trials that they were overreaching and that the Bundys were considered innocent. Well, that thing grew and grew and grew, and it came to a standoff in Oregon with some other people in Oregon going through some similar stuff. And it came to a point where, they killed him in. The FBI killed him in. And what they did was, from a distance, the man was trying to get away because they were roadblocking him, and it was just an ugly thing. There was a big standoff, and it was a sad thing that we got to this point. But this guy was being treated the same way by the federal government, and so was his farm in Oregon, and so were these people. And it turned out that they went to occupy a public place, and I'm telling you guys this stuff because you need to understand what has been done previous, and you need to know that it was all done lawfully, and you need to know the repercussions and what came against these people. So they were lawfully, and the same principles happened in January 6th, where the FBI instigated people to have a riot. And all those people in the FBI were never found, never disclosed, never brought up. But it turned out at the Oregon trial um, that 25% of all the people in the standoff in the park that were holding out in the public park owned by the people were FBI agents and or operational agents. So that means the people that were mixing with the people demonstrating were agents. The people that were trying to incite violence were agents. The people that were causing dissension amongst the people were agents. And I learned a lot watching that. Now, going forward, walking into Republic, I had personally was there. I operationally ran the boards. I helped Tim Turner, CW, and a bunch of people. We all sat in an office in a warehouse, and I had about 500 people on conference, and we were doing our first ever seating of a re-inhabited republic that was vacated in 1871. I know it's actually 1861, but truly 1871. And nobody had ever sat back down in these seats since that time period. And a corporation completely took over and started running things from the District of Columbia. When we seated the government, the de jure, really all heck broke loose. And it started a whirlwind because we started for 2.5 years, started getting into a position where we needed to do lawful elections and different things to bring upon leadership and see some seats. So we all got together in Ephraim, Utah, and I was there for 2 weeks personally, and we reseated the republic that we have here in this nation. And we were interim only. That means we were holding for when the people woke up. Within a couple of years, the republic was infiltrated, like Oregon, like Nevada, like every January 6th. And the republic was blown apart from the inside, completely blown apart from the inside. And it was always an instigator, always somebody dissenting, not able to get along, um, looking at the obvious way to get things done, going the opposite direction, not wanting to be peaceful, not wanting to be friends, not wanting the this, that, and the other. And I don't put anybody above or beyond that, agent or non-agent. You know, you're either an agent for the federal government or you're an agent for the devil or you're an agent for God. And so we can be a representative for God or we can be a representative for the devil. And a lot of different times people are misrepresenting spiritually a position and they don't know why they're doing what they're doing. It's just their person compromised and they don't know how to get along. With all that being said, I personally watched the Republic get blown apart. And I watched Tim Turner, the president of the Republic, get arrested. And I everything, and this is going to sound sad for a lot of people, but every single thing that's going on in the world, even including the death of babies, there is always, and I hate to say this because a lot of people don't understand why I'm about to say what I'm about to say, but I will explain myself another day if somebody wants me to. No matter how bad a situation is, there's always something that is good that comes about. Always. You can always see light in darkness. Always. Go into a dark room and you'll find a corner where something's seeping through and there's light. You can always find the good and evil, meaning something God is going to glorify himself through some kind of really horrible transaction. I say that because I watched the Republic get ripped apart, and I kept going, kept going. I started seeing dissenting people talking negative, people calling Republic members saying you're going to go to jail, you keep on staying. These were people that were ultimately being used by the federal government, and I believe agents for the federal government. That's how important the Republic was. Once it got seated, it was that important to make sure it didn't hold together. But by an operational law, we went from creating what's known as the Declaration of Sovereign Intent to creating lawful elections. Now, mind you, TT, the acting president, Tim Turner, went to prison. What was good that came about that? Well, a lot for us because I read his case, and that's really what made me start reading cases and understanding jurisdiction and understanding how they have it. And really, it taught us the basic premise of everything that we do here at His Advocates from a state citizenship standpoint. I mailed Tim Turner, emailed through other people, donated, had donations sent to him, had people send donations to him. If y'all remember in the past, I asked people to support him towards when he was getting out as well to get a lot more money in his hands. And so we were there for him. And as much as we could be, we had people that were working with him the entirety of the time. What's unfortunate is the last 2 years, they sent him to the prison where MK Ultra is being ran from. This is a known thing. This isn't our speculation. I don't know what happened, but we know that it's an ongoing project to alter the minds of individuals. We also know that TT has been surrounded by Freemasons, one of which lives in his house as a high degree Freemason and would not renounce his Freemasonry and has been steering Tim and directing Tim. We do know that. Now, that's not speculation. That's a lot of people saying what's happening in the background. Tim is hopefully he's a man that I know loves the Lord. I know that he has compromised himself in the last year and a half in coming against what was lawfully put together, thinking he can start his own republic again, and tore apart what God was working on for the last 15 years and is continuing to do so, appearing as an angel of the light, speaking peace, speaking love, and all the while completely ripping apart what God has already put together through him in the past. And I'm saying that boldly. I'm saying that knowing that I don't want to hurt him. I'm saying that knowing that I still love this guy, but I am going to call truth out where I need to see the truth. Anybody that is coming against what the people as a collective and God really as a collective has put together and thinks that they can take something, rip it apart, and just all of a sudden have a new version 1.0 does not understand chain of title. Okay. If we can get our minds wrapped around chain of title, you will understand why the Republic for the United States of America is the seated interim government recognized by the federal government, period. It's no different than having a set of docs, deeds being recorded on a house. If I can go and prove that a deed recorded 4 years ago was done invalidly, I can actually wipe out everything on a go forward basis as to what's going on that house for like with a foreclosure filing, with a notice of sale. I've done this before personally. I've corrected the record on deed acceptances where we accept the deed post a foreclosure and it puts the property back into the name of the person that lost the home. And there isn't a dang thing law enforcement can do about it because they're deeded on the home. And the foreclosure has to start over. The point I'm trying to make, it's a proof, unequivocal proof that chain of title has to be flawless on a transaction, meaning we can't have a flawless republic where lawful elections took place and then you come over here and say this is invalid now and restart this back here when this has been done properly. Okay, where you did it according to the Constitution, where you put in public notice, where the people that were seated in the seats on all 50 states voted for who they wanted for in a lawful election. You can't do that because it allows for a properly recorded deed to be canceled. And that's just not the way that chain of title works. Chain of title can only be corrected with mistakes. If no mistake was made, you have to go through the lawfully elected process and due process to unwind that president, that vice president, whoever you lawfully elected. You got to kick them out. And that's just how the Constitution works and why we call it the supreme law of the land. Once elections took place, once people voted, once people put them into office, that's a done deal. Now, to take all the original docs and go over here and take half of the people with you and saying, I've got the real republic, it's not lawful. Secondly, let's presume that the leadership in the republic were completely wrong, meaning the active, lawful interim government were completely wrong with their assertions of what they were doing. That would be a lawful mechanism that you can put together to eject them from their seats. And you would have to take a vote. Congress would have to come together and eject them from those seats and do what people are going through today when it comes to the removal of a president of any country, of any nation, but specifically this country. There has to be a congressional, I think it's 75% people agreeing that that president needs to be removed from office. There is an absolute process, but you can't just go and start 2.0. That's taking the United States of America and starting a 2.0 somewhere else and acting like you are still the country in charge. And Donald Trump had nothing to do with a lawful election into the corporation. It's just not possible. I'm only saying this, and this isn't to poo-poo anybody. I'm only saying this because we have large groups of people in the Republic that are pissed off, rightfully so or unrightfully so, at the leadership in the Republic. Now, I'm just going to say something to you guys. I've been watching this play out since 2008. I've been a party to the Republic since 2008, watching how it got to where it's at today. I am the third in command, as Secretary of the Treasury. I do not want to be president. I do not want to be vice president. I do not want to be the Treasury Secretary. I don't want anything to do with anything other than freeing people. And I struggle with that. I would love to go out and get a business that made money and go do my little ministry work on the side and have a kickback and chill life, because for the last 20 years of my life, there's been no kickback and no chill unless you really learn how to deal with stress. And God has taught me through all of this how to deal with stress and how to deal with the problems of life and how to take on large scale institutions without operating in fear. And that's been the glorious benefit. But at the same time, there's always that lingering thought. There's always that I have to rebuke of, am I going to be attacked? Am I going to, and I don't want to even be in that road of a thought process. But knowing what I've told you, knowing that there's always dissension, I've come to realize that the Republic is going to have to be a God thing, because it is that important that there are that many people assigned to take this thing down. It is that important. I just want you to know, if you don't like the leadership, you got to do it lawfully. That's all I'm trying to say. You can't go out and start Republic 2.0, create a new website, and adopt the documents that you created 15 years ago that have gone through a successive chain of title and lawful elections and an interim government and thousands of people working towards a creation of the seats that people can come and sit in. And then use words like grace, peace, love, forgiveness, and all those things, while at the same time, you're not applying that towards those leaders and applying the rule of the law of the land towards how to remove those leaders. If you want them out, remove them. If you don't like them, do the lawful procedure. Don't whisper in people's ear, I'm tired of this, I'm going to start my own over here, and act like you can make that as a pretense of lawful. It's not. All people are doing, Tim Turner is doing is, and this is a guy who I love. This is a guy who I will wrestle, sit down any day of the week with, and forgive him, and he'll forgive me, and we are both operators. But something did happen. He is being steered, he is being misled, he is being handled. And there are people that are handling him because he is a powerful man. He is extremely influential, extremely believable, extremely lovable. And that's why they put the Freemasons high level on him. And I believe why he went to the prison where MK Ultra is running out of. I am not making a single assertion that he was MK Ultra. All I'm telling you is facts. And I'm blown away by the actions that I'm seeing today come out of this republic. I'm blown away. And I'm at the same time sickened that two people can't get together, sit down, and work their indifferences. I'm sickened about that. And every time I see somebody, I'm also sickened on both sides. I wish people had more tolerance, had more ability to deal with trolls. I wish I had more ability to deal with trolls or deal with regular people with real concerns. Sometimes I get a little antsy, a little frustrated, a little whatever. I mean, we're all men and women. We all make mistakes. But when it comes to this republic, the chain of title is absolute. There's only one. If you rip apart this republic, listen to me, Hawkeye, if this republic meaning the Republic for the United States of America, which Tim Turner was a part of and went to prison for. If that republic gets ripped apart and anybody goes over to Tim's republic and reseats, you will completely have no lawful authority to rule or reign or re-inhabit whatsoever. And that is the devil's goal, period. And if you don't understand chain of title, I do. Please accept my expert opinion about chain of title on these subject matters, and that you cannot disrupt a perfect record or chain of custody. You can only use the laws to which you approved of to remove acting or seating presidents or seating secretary of states. That is the only way that you can proceed forward in republic to do what you were trying to do. And this by no means is me trying to hold on to something that I think is going to be glorious, or by any means me trying to keep a position as Secretary of Treasury. I am trying to fire myself as fast as possible. If there is somebody with an accounting background that has a heart for the people and we can identify their history and their background, I will gladly yield a position third in command of that republic to anybody. Gladly yield. The only reason why I'm sitting in it is Tim Turner asked me to personally at the Newport Dunes in Newport Beach, California, over 15 years ago. That guy who put the republic together put me in that position, and Congress approved. Point being, instead of the republic constantly being at odds, and I think everybody's a little bit at fault. Everybody. I don't need to understand territory versus state. I already know territory versus state. I don't need to understand necessarily the Northwest Ordinance or how we get our jurisdiction or why we're able to do what we do. I don't care. What I care about is why we can't bring the people together. But here, I need you to hear what I'm about to say, because I threw in something kind of sneaky about 6 years ago. I started offering free passport services to the people that held offices in the republic. Did you hear what I said? And do you know why? Because if you were a United States federal employee, FBI, Secret Service, CIA, you would not be able to apply for a passport as a state citizen, as it would conflict with your job. And you would be barred. So the reason why we do this is so that we can see the certified copies of the passport application of all people that are operating in Republic. Now we know we have a real man or a real woman certified by the Secretary of State as being a state citizen. We know they made an oath and allegiance to America as we know it. Get it? That's why I did what I did, so we can determine infiltrator from non. It should be an absolute requirement for the people that are operating in positions in the Republic. And anybody that says no to it is not willing to take an oath or allegiance to the United States of America. Because if you've read our passport documents, that's all it is. And if you're not willing to take allegiance to your state or to the United States of America and disavow your allegiance to the United States corporation publicly, you shouldn't be a party to the republic. That's why we do what we do. That's why I did what I did and made it free for the people coming in from the republic. And so that we can know whose side each and every single person's on. We can know the dissenters. We can know the agents, whether literal or what have you. It's pretty easy to learn and discern a spiritually compromised person. It's much harder to discern a physical agent for the federal government, but they are deep and long into the Republic for the United States of America. And God knows that they want to rip it apart, because if the people wake up on scale and become state citizens, by mass, you will all be creditors. They want debtors. They want everybody to be in a 15-minute city by 2030, 10 to 2030. If you don't know what that means, go look it up. They are now doing the shutdown in the United Kingdom. They are now referring to it as an energy shutdown. Like I said, years ago, the reason why they're trying to send everybody home is so they can get those business buildings, convert them into residential palaces or whatever, so people can come from the suburbs into cities by mandate, not law, by mandate, and move everything they own and have into a 15-minute city. And people by an operational law will be scared and say, okay, and move. We're at a point right now where I think we need to rely on God. And I think no matter what, the Republic is seated. And no matter what, there will always be people dissenting against what belongs to God, including people that look like they are directly working with God. But understand one thing: God's house is a house of order. And I'll tell you this republic for the United States of America, from everything that I have seen, its house is in order, Hawkeye. It's in order. Even if we don't like the decisions of the president or the secretary of the treasury or the secretary of the state, doesn't matter. The reason why it's in order, it was lawfully put together. And I've watched how they treat people and individuals. I write the checks and I see the donations, and I saw massive donations go straight to Tim Turner. Okay. I know our hearts for him, and I know our hearts for the people. I know our hearts for America. And I know these leaders, and whatever you feel about them, we need to deal with it lawfully. We can't take what belongs to God, a house that is in order lawfully, and rip it apart just because we feel we can. You have to lawfully, specifically when it is a lawfully formed government, do it lawfully to dismantle and remove the people that you don't like. And there has to be a good cause of action. You know how you know that Donald Trump works for a corporation and not the Republic? They stopped getting congressional approval 25 years ago for war. Congress has to approve every war. When was the last time you heard about Congress approving for a war? Right? Well, we are not a corporation. We have to abide by the Constitution. Hawkeye. We have to abide by the Constitution through the government that was lawfully put together by TT, by James Geiger, by myself, and worked hard by people like Sandy. You may not like them, lawfully remove them, okay? If that's your choice, or lawfully get along with them and figure it out. We don't need to like everything everybody does. We don't need to see that everything that everybody does is our way. We don't need to be in control of everything. And that was a big shift for Tim when he got out. He wasn't running things. And I'm sure that bothered him. But he was willing to take money from the Republic right before and while he was dissenting against it. Know that. He took money from the people right before, a lot of money, by the way, right before and while he was dissenting against it. And then he left right after he cashed the check. And he even told me he wanted to return it. It's a little late now, buddy. Bottom line, message to Tim. I love you, buddy. You're wrong. And you're being steered wrong. God bless you, my man. I wish the best for you in life. I'll sit down with you at any point, anywhere, anytime, without your cronies. And we'll have a guy conversation in love. Um, Anybody is forgivable, including Jim, including you, including myself. But we can't lawfully disrupt what you yourself had hands putting together. Period. God bless you. That's all I got to say. Um, so I wanted to start there because I've never publicly done that. With really, I've told people a little bit. I haven't really told people everything, and I want people to understand that there is a republic. But I also want people to understand that there's really kind of two republics. There's one, but there's really kind of two. Um, and I've always said this to you guys when I met um, the original state citizen guru, the old guy, what's his name? Richard McDonald. Went to his chateau. Neat guy. He he's an old guy, but he is a neat guy. And I bought everything that he had research wise. And I would love his books. If anybody knows how to get a hold of those people, and maybe his children get a hold of his books, I'd love it because he collected them for 40, 50 years. Nevertheless, I asked Richard McDonald, what do you think about the Republic? And he said something I have never forgotten and I never will. I think they're a bunch of complaining United States citizens. I went, and it just resonated. And I'm like, oh crap. That means they're all a bunch of pretenders. The people that are in Republic are not even themselves in Republic. They're all with an oath and allegiance to what I would consider what is being overseen. I'm not speaking about Trump, by the devil, the corporation defunct, in bankruptcy, being liquidated, where the people are the surety and the collateral, that one. And all those people have allegiance to that, and none of them are free. So it was very important for me to quit my day to day operations with the Republic for the United States of America and start his advocates separate so that we can show people how to be free. You personally can be in Republic on this land without joining the organization from a leadership standpoint to uphold the people's God-given unalienable rights. You personally, lawfully have the ability to be in Republic right now without being a part of the actual Republic, meaning there is a way to have Republic by an operational law, but there's the enforcement that we all are going to eventually need is going to come through communities and how we have our land deeded and how we hold title on our stuff and how many people we actually are in the Republic for the United States of America and where are they in control of, and territory or state by state, region by region, people by people, we don't know. So we're all learning. We're all a part of this big plan. But I think it's more important for people to come into Republic en masse because we need to find out who the agents are that are unwilling to sign off on it so that we can have a Republic for the United States of America with full knowledge of people who were willing to make allegiance to the people and to the Declaration of Independence. And that's really what we are doing here at His Advocates. And that's why I offered that to anybody that holds an office. And this is thousands of people, guys. You got to understand something. I was willing to do something for free for thousands of people. And I've had this as a long-standing thing. And we've done this for hundreds of people in the Republic now. But it's unfortunate because the Republic is always clashing. And there's always people that don't want to make that allegiance, don't want to come out, want to cause a rift, want to cause a fight. And it's a sad state. It really is. It's a sad state. but the Republic is the lawfully elected de jure interim representation for what we had in 1861, the Republic for the United States of America. And we can't take away and start a new one over here and act like we can just reseat based on the original documents we did in Ephraim, Utah. We can't start over. It doesn't work that way. You need to understand chain of title. This is why this will never, ever work. It will never be recognized by any federal judge, state judge, executive branch, or Supreme Court ever. Never, ever will it be recognized. Why? Because they unlawfully came out and did not remove the officers per the protocols of the Constitution that they all agreed to. I don't care if you were in jail or not. The protocols still exist. The Constitution's never failed America. It's only failed people that don't want to keep it. So you understand? Chain of title is perfect, and it must remain perfect. And we got to remove the people if that's your heart's desire. Or go and support them and go and love them and figure out how to get through. Sit down, talk to them. They are good people to talk to. I'm telling you. People that are out there and completely against them, why? Just talk through it. Let's figure this out. Let's make this work. And I don't agree with just firing people. I don't. I don't agree unless somebody has done something against the Republic or somebody has come outside their oath of office and they don't really know what they're doing and come against the Republic. There are some people that need to be forcefully removed. And if we're, what we need to understand is how far does the Northwest Ordinance carry? And we need to get some legal interpretation on that and figure out lawfully from a Supreme Court standpoint, which we don't have, what that looks like for the people in Republic. Anyway, any questions, any comments from anybody on this subject matter before we move on? None. How many people in Republic are on? Raise your hand or speak up. Oh, you are Hawkeye. Jack, anybody else?
Yeah.
Anybody
What was the
else?
question?
How many people are operating in Republic? Meaning working with the organization Republic for the United States of America. Hawkeye, you were?
I was. I kept getting hit up with all the fragmented people trying to start that stuff up.
Yeah. See, Jeff, I did too. And that's why I walked away. I held the office. I kept the office and I walked away because I understood chain of title at the time. You know, I'm a real estate broker by trade. So I understood that what we did was a proper succession and chain of title of re-inhabitation of this nation. But I couldn't stand the inroads. I couldn't stand the fighting. I couldn't stand the leadership bickering. I couldn't stand being attacked all the time. I was always pissed about it.
Yeah,
So I held my position. I walked away and I'm still in position today. I still do things for the leadership. I don't need to agree with them. I don't need to be in love with them. I actually like them. And I don't know enough about the Northwest Ordinance to say whether they are right, wrong, or indifferent. But that's what needs to be determined. And if they are wrong in that assertion, then they can make an opportunity for correction and bring the people back together. But understand something, Jeff, we have at least 25% infiltrators. That's how important this thing is. But knowing all that, what is having a republic matter if we can't have 100, 200,000 people or 25,000 people in republic themselves step up into lawful elections? We can't. So we need people in republic themselves in order to allow for the interim to transition over to full custody. And that's a God thing for me. And I recognize that that's a God thing, but it's not going to, just because I'm waiting on God to do something doesn't mean I'm going to walk away. I'm going to hold the position. I'm going to let God do whatever God's going to do. And I'm going to see this through. I'm not going to cower. I'm not going to walk away, be in dissent, be upset, because both sides are right. You know what I mean? Both sides have feelings. Both sides have interpretations. Both sides maybe have a right to question. This is what we are as a nation. We have a right to question the presidency. We have a right. That doesn't mean you're violating your oath. That doesn't mean you're against. So I don't know every situation that's transpired. I don't know of,
Kelby,
yeah.
Kelby, this is Robert.
Yeah, go ahead, Robert.
So, Kelby, this has been excellent, Paul, for me. Something that you know that others may not know is that I served as a chaplain for the Republic under the current president at his
Right.
pleasure. I
Is
also
it
served as
Zuluaga?
the, yes,
Yeah. So, guys, just FYI, Zuluaga has been there right with me since the beginning. Okay. And he has seen this play out just like I have. And he's walked away just like I did, only I kept my office. Go ahead, Zuluaga.
well, correction on that, I did not walk away from anything.
Oh, okay. Go
Um,
ahead.
so, I want to give some perspective here, if you'll indulge me.
Mhm.
Uh, yes, when Tim got out of prison, I was my heart went to him and continues to go to him. And as you know, we gave different people gave funds at the time he got out to get him on his feet. Well, I got invited to his home uh, with the current president and a number of folks in leadership, including Roger Waters and uh, Jim Carpenter and some others. And so Tim had invited me. Uh, he said, "Oh, why don't you come out? The leadership's getting together," and he was the attorney general at that time. Is that correct? That was the position he was holding.
Yeah, I believe so.
Right. Why don't you come out? So I did, and uh, I really felt a strong prompt from the Holy Spirit to make that trip. I had a curious comment from the acting governor of Colorado at that time because we were also friends, and he said, "Oh, well, you need to be prepared that during that meeting we might ask you to leave because confidential stuff is going to be spoken about." And I was like, "That's an odd comment, but all right, fine," because I had been
Yeah.
God called me away from the Republic into Christian ministry. Oh, probably in 2012 sometime. And it was for no other reason than God turns your heart and you go where He calls you. So coming back in the Republic when Tim got out of prison was also a God thing. This whole orchestration of this meeting was, in my opinion, a God thing. So anyway, I go, and there was, I don't know, maybe 15 people there or something. There was, the fellow from Louisiana, uh, sweet guy. He's a chiropractor.
Chiropractor.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah. And then there's Governor from Florida, Bishop, and just some other people, and Jim and uh, Tim Geiger and Roger and some other guy who had served with Ronald Reagan on his ministry or his administration at one time. I think the guy's name might have been Dave Mook or something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, so we have a meeting. We're all, you know, eating a meal on our lap in his living room, and so different, people telling their different stories, and the and I was saying how I had been Tim had asked me to be part of his cabinet when he was president, and he asked me to be the Secretary of Commerce. I said sure, and I think you and Wade Butler and myself, we worked on budgets back in the day, national budgets.
Yeah.
Um, so anyway, President Geiger said, "Well, did you ever resign from that position in Tim's cabinet?" I said, "No." He says, "Oh, okay. Well, then you're my Secretary of Commerce." I said, "Oh, okay, sure." And so I ended up being brought back, repositioned back in the Republic at that time with leadership. And I'm going, "Wow, Lord, what are you doing here?"
Right.
Because as you know, I was the head of the team of 12 in Ephraim, Utah, where we took the documents with over 280 people, I think, at the time. We eventually had, I think, 237 or 257 signatures
Plus all the
at
proxies.
that. All, yeah, I don't know if we allowed proxies. Did we allow proxies back then? I'm not sure we did.
We had
But
we
we,
had senators that had brought votes, proxies from people that weren't able to make it. Yeah.
okay, well, you might know that because you were more involved in the paper process. But I was involved in the team that actually took the Declaration of Sovereign Intent and crafted it to get unanimous consent from all of the 237 who signed off on it, or autographed on it, probably more accurately. Anyway, that was such a, for those who don't know about it, it was such a Holy Spirit time. People came from all over our country at a moment's notice. It literally was 3 days' notice, and and gathered. And did we have like 42 states or something there at the time, Kelly?
I think we had 37, which was majority. We barely made majority, which was 37, 75%.
Well, I think we had 42, but we only had those who were able to stay, and autograph was only 37. But however,
Gotcha.
the details are there, we succeeded in doing what God called us to do. It was fabulous. So all right, so I go. So anyway, that those pieces are in place, and I can't. When did Tim get out of prison? 2 years ago? 3 years ago?
Something like that. Yeah.
All right, so that was that meeting. So then I start uh, being included in the circle of what's happening on leadership, and I had known Jim Carpenter introduced Sandy Mariecki into the Republic when she lived here in Colorado, and so anyway, I became part of the inner circle again, editing documents, creating a set of prototype documents. Not that people had to follow exactly, but would give a guideline of what it would take to develop your general assemblies. They call them different things in different states, and stand up your particular state. Well, that wasn't, the warfare goes on. You know it, I know it. But there was something deeper than that that I recognized. I'm going, people love the documents we were creating. But then when they went to leadership, I mean, the team, we agreed, we got President Geiger sign off, we got Tim Turner sign off, we got Sandy Bishop down in Florida was helping us with PowerPoint and editing it and stuff, and myself. And so we finally get it so it can be a standardized document that everybody can um, upload to their states, tweak them to however they need to do them so it suits their dispositions, and move forward. But whatever happened in those who control the information in the Republic, it went into stagnation. And then it went into oh, well, we can't get it on the website. We can't upload it. The technology there, the webmaster is too busy. Uh, and so we didn't have somebody specialized in creating PDF documents that were editable or non. Well, you know what I mean about they're not editable, but they're you can infill them, you know? So it's stagnated. And then when they started to come out, they were changed. And they weren't changed by this collaboration of leadership. They were changed by a few, or maybe one, maybe two. I say that to say, okay, well,
What
maybe
was actually changed? What was changed? You guys came together as a body,
we
and
came
then
together as a body, we
you put
collaborated on
together
these
what? What
documents.
was the name of the document you had put together? What were you trying to accomplish, and what was changed? Specific.
The and I'd have to go to my computer to get the document packet, but the first one was a participation agreement in your local jural assembly. In other words, saying the goal of this group of people getting together in my town or in my county is to re-inhabit the Republic of the United States of America. And we follow the Robert's Rules of Order as a guideline. We want an orderly meeting. You can't just come in and have a team of individuals, and let's just say government agents or even Muslims for that matter, coming in and changing the how the structure of the business meeting is in the county. Uh, so there's certain things, there are certain markers in that document that folks had to say. They didn't have to know everything, but they had to know that the basic principles are the Bible, the Declaration of Independence, Constitution, and the Bill of Rights. Those are the guidelines that we follow as we stand up our particular counties. That was the first document.
So what was
So okay,
changed
and then uh,
on that?
I don't have all of those uh, answers for you, but I wanted to just put that as a place marker. Things were changed in, and there's more documents. Those declaration of you would uh, come alongside the founders to say, yeah, I want to sign the Declaration of Independence. My commitment to my country is the same as our founders were back in the day, and I want to sign on to that. Some of these were the original documents we all did, the document packages we did back in the day, but the languaging of those documents back in the day, President Geiger said to me, let's put language in here that actually Americans can understand. Americans who've read the Declaration of Independence, who've read the Constitution, read the Bill of Rights, and a lot of that Declaration of Sovereign Intent of. Well, do you remember what the name of that document is? I'm sorry, I don't have it in my head.
The claim and
Uh,
interest?
indigenous power of something or other.
Yeah, Declaration of Sovereign Intent. That's the name of the
Declaration
document.
of yeah. So it was anyway. The language of it was a little bit odd for an average American who has read American history. Maybe it was right legal language or something, but President Geiger said, let's make this so it's plain spoken. And so that was a lot of the work that we did on those documents. I want to put a placeholder in that if I can, just to say that things changed just when we were about to have a breakthrough to be able to launch all of this revitalized number of states into engaging in what it was like to work together at a local county level, then get your counties stood up so you can work at a state level, to then be able to have your state constitutional convention, and then for us to get a majority of states together to stand up the republic. So that was, it seemed like, oh great, all working, all moving on the same cylinders, moving forward, and it broke down. Okay. At the same time, I had spoken to Tim, and I had a steel building that I had been when I moved from Arizona to Colorado. I put it on a trailer. I was going to rebuild it, make a cabin in the woods or something with it up here. But it'd been sitting on my trailer for 3 years, and Tim just got out of jail. And this is before he resigned, all that stuff that happened at the Senate call, all that. It was in the winter, and I said, you know, Tim, God's put on my heart. When spring comes, I'm gonna bring this building down, and I'm gonna build it for you on your property. Because he likes to work on cars, likes to work on things. He likes to work with his hands. And I'm thinking, you know, this man has given 10 years, 11 years of his life for me. He took the fall for all of us. He didn't buckle, and he has, and it's like no big deal. The man's faith is strong. I totally disagree with the summary that you said at the beginning of the call about him being overtaken by Freemasons and a Freemason living with him and all that. It's not true. And I speak as that in my capacity as a pastor, as a chaplain at the time,
So you're saying a
and having,
Freemason, a 33rd degree Freemason or 32nd degree Freemason was not living with him?
no, he was there for a time. He's not still living with him. The guy who's living with him is totally different. Um, no, it
Okay,
was Dave
that's what
Roberts.
was represented to me. So just FYI.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I'm I'm glad I can speak to that. But Dave Roberts is the guy who is, you know, the Freemason background. And I was asked to do a document in the package to renounce Freemasonry. So went through a whole bunch of stuff to do that. And Dave Roberts had an opportunity to choose to step away from it. Other people in the Republic did. He didn't. But he also, I am not convinced. So look, if a person's a Muslim, they'll lie to your face and to get their way of what they want to do. Freemasonry is exactly the same, in my opinion, on that. But and I, Dave Roberts is a fine guy. He's nice enough. He probably knows way more than I do about how to stand up a General Assembly. But I never liked the way he proposed to stand up a county. I personally never did. I told Tim Turner that. I told uh, Jim Geiger that. I told Sandy that. I told Jim Carpenter that here in my state. I said, I'm not convinced that this process of standing up your county by reading your documents on the courthouse steps and getting their permission from it has anything to do with what we're doing. That was just my personal opinion, independent of his alleged Freemason background stuff. There's a lot of Freemasonry in this nation. There is a lot of stronghold in Freemasonry in our local counties, sheriff's office, police offices. They are run in some states. I was talking to one of the governors from Missouri at the time. She says, we can't meet locally. We can't declare on the courthouse steps we're what they're asking us to do because our law enforcement in our towns or in our county are totally entrenched in Freemasonry. So there's a lot of that in our nation already. Dave Roberts was the lightning rod for that in the Republic and was part of creating solution documents in conjunction with Tim Turner and Jim Geiger. They were at his house creating these. So at the time he was there, Jim Geiger was part of that process, and they created this PowerPoint. At the same time, we were creating and did create the PowerPoint on the reinhabitation plan. Sadly, those two documents, those two PowerPoints were launched the same darn day. Tim Turner presented the PowerPoint on re-inhabiting the Republic, and Dave Roberts presented the PowerPoint on standing up your county. Well, I didn't know a thing about the division going on between Tim Turner and Jim Geiger. Didn't have a clue that there was any friction there at all. Because they worked together to create these documents and these PowerPoints. So back to the why. So in the spring, so in the meantime, the Senate call happens. Um, there becomes all this stuff of how this person in the Senate did it wrongfully, and um, Jim Carpenter gets on a Senate call. Who's a governor? Gets on a Senate call and calls out Dave Roberts as being a Freemason, and they shouldn't talk to him, and creating this public confrontation outside of the jurisdiction of a governor on a Senate call, setting the tone on that call that totally went sideways. So the next day, I think at the leadership meeting, Tim Turner had one of the governors read his resignation letter. So all this goes on in the winter. Come spring, I'm true to my word. I call up Tim. I say, hey, how about this weekend? I'll come down. And so I came down. I spent 3 weeks with Tim. I slept on his living room floor. The other fellow who lives in his house is a guy by the name of Dean McGann or McGinn, or I don't know, Dean something or other. And I would get up in the morning outside. We laid a foundation, a pad, and built this building over 3 weeks. And at the same time, over those 3 weeks, I went to, on the weekends, I would go to Jim Geiger's church, because Jim's a Messianic Jew, and I wanted to learn more about it. So I went to his church with he and his wife. We experienced a tornado together that hit the church or hit right next to it. And I would meet with him for breakfast. I had coffee with him on several occasions because my heart, as the chaplain, wanted to see a healing of this rift that had gone on in the Republic. I didn't know all the details. And so I tried to get Jim Geiger and Tim Turner to meet. They only live 45 minutes away from each other. And I'm like, come on, you guys. This is just really counterproductive.
Good for you.
Anyway, Tim was willing, Jim was not. And so I'm like, golly, I'm carrying this place in my heart for unity. I'm not trying to choose sides of what's going on here. And so I make a final offer for that, and make an offer for Gene Hertler to do a three-way call with Tim, and there'd been Hurt there as well. And all of that just did not happen. So I'm sad about it.
Hey, let me jump in there real quick. The irony is you're only confirming everything that I think we all already know, which is, you know, people aren't getting along, and why aren't they able to, and why are people being fired when, and again, Robert, we're unfortunately we don't really have a firsthand material fact eyewitness account of every single person that's been terminated or whatever. You really have only your own. Tim really has only his own. And everybody speaking only really has their own. I need to, again, step
Well, let
back
me tell you,
and
Kelby, let me tell you as my own, because the rest of the story unfolds from there.
yeah,
And
just
that's
just just go quick because I'm short on a little bit of time right now. I got a 10:30 I got to deal with over here. Go ahead.
all right. Well, just suffice to say that Tim gave was one morning at breakfast. I have to say this because I'm going to tell you the next bit. He gave a story of what happened when funding was coming, and I mean, uh, multiple millions, if not billions of dollars of funding were coming to the Republic to be able to do stuff with CNN, do stuff with the NASCAR, whatever else. And so Tim was telling the story. I'm going, wow, Tim, this is a great story. Do you mind if I record it? He says, no, go ahead. So I record him for about an hour and 7 minutes. And in it, he morphs into talking about some of the division between, what's going on and his opinion of some of the leadership pieces there. And I thought, oh, this is perfect. I'll share this. So then I left Jim Geiger. We had tea. We had a cup of coffee together with his family, and I head off the road. I went to Texas. I had a friend I was going to bring some stuff back with. I went and I stayed with Sandy overnight. And I thought, great, I'm going to share this recording with Sandy. I share the recording with Sandy, and she went ballistic at this Dean McGann guy. And I won't tell you the things she said, but they were very unchristian and very nasty. So I come back to Colorado as the chaplain. I was also the uh, the facilitator for President Geiger's weekly leadership call with all the governors and representatives from the House and the Senate. And I'm caught. And so I come on a call, I think, one day, and I was sharing. I said, I don't want you to hear it from others because we didn't broadcast it that I was going down to Alabama. And I shared that I had gone to see Tim Turner and the president, and I was defending, not meaning to in any way of creating controversy, but I'd just been there. My heart had stood in the presence of both of these individuals telling their story from their own hearts. And in my office as a as of reconciliation, as a representative of Jesus Christ, I'm not there to try to create division. I'm there to create unity. It didn't go well. The leadership got very angry with me on that call, and I realized, I'm not into strife. I'm not into discord. I'll just step back. And I told the president, I said, as much as I see us meet every single week after week, and you have each governor tell their story of how they're standing up their state. On the one hand, everybody's accusing Dave Roberts of being this Freemason, but Dave Roberts is the one who designed the solution for every county to be stood up. And I'm thinking, I don't personally, not smart enough to know why I didn't feel good about his process. I just didn't. And I think it's a jurisdiction thing. I didn't see why we had to go to the county to get their permission to stand up the private people. Anyway, I said to the president, I said, I find it hard to be on these calls and be excited that we're using this guy's process that you all don't agree with, and nobody's looking deeper at finding a process that's going to work. So I backed off from that. I'd still do the prayer calls as a chaplain. And before I knew it, I was told to cease and desist. I was told that I was no longer in the Republic. I was told this really preposterous letter I get. The president didn't call me, didn't talk to me, didn't anything. It's just an arbitrary decision that I'm out. Well, you're talking about chain of command, and you're talking about lawful process. The Republic right now has zero due process. Zero. Whatever the heck they're doing to kicking all these people out is not lawful due process. Because I don't even know what I was accused of. And there's many others the same way. And it's, there's more we can talk about if you have a timestamp on this. I just yield the floor, but we have I love your process, Kelby. I think that you have the answer that has to happen before you can have a General Assembly get together and stand up your county. If you don't know how to do it yourself in the private, how can you possibly know how to do it for your community? And how are you ever going to raise up the right number of people in leadership at a county level and therefore at a state level? You're not. They're going to be a bunch of ignorant, corporate thinking Americans who believe they're doing something that's going to last for generation to generation.
Complaining United States citizens.
You said it. That's right. That's right.
Complaining United States citizens. Hey, Hawkeye, you want to interject?
Yes, that's what I wanted you to know right there. Thank you Pastor Robert. I knew all this, and I knew about you, and I couldn't do all that on a text or a conversation with you, Kelby. But I'm glad he was there. Now, that was my question of where do we go now? It's things like that happen to Robert that happen to hundreds.
Yeah. So I can't speak to all the things that are happening. I can't speak to all the firings. I can't speak to any of that. But let's just say it is wrong. Let's say it is. You still got to go through due process. You got to
But
go
they're
through
not,
due
Toby.
process.
They're not going through due process, and that's where where your
Maybe
conclusions you've
not,
made
but
here.
you
Yeah.
just told me that story about you, and with complete respect, and as your friend and as a member, he's in an executive position, and you're one of the executive parts of that position that he has authority over. He could fire you any day of the week. That's my
Oh, I totally
position.
agree. That's why I said nothing. I totally agree with you. I was serving at his pleasure, and he
Now,
chose
the due
not to have me
process
serve, and
element
I'm
or the
fine.
reasoning behind it, the moral compass behind it could be wrong. Okay. The element of the morality behind some of these decisions could be wrong. And that even more so would be a cause of action to take an approach that would be a lawful approach for people to consider maybe a new person in that position. I'm just he's been in there over 2 terms. I don't think he wants to be president forever. I mean, if somebody else wants to be president, let's find somebody and put him in there. And then watch it all start over, Robert. Watch all the argument and the same crap happening with Trump and the teams around Trump and the media around Trump and all that stuff. Watch it happen with us. It just
No,
never
no, Kelby,
stops.
no, Kelby. I totally disagree. I don't come alongside that belief system.
I
Jesus
don't want
Christ,
to agree with that.
Jesus
I'm just
Christ.
seeing that for the last
I just
15
saying.
years.
I know, but it doesn't have to repeat itself. Jesus
No, it
Christ
doesn't.
will raise the republic, or he won't. And I believe that he has a way to put the pieces together in our hearts that transcend all of this division of the devil. The devil
Okay,
has
now
not
let me
buffeted.
speak to that.
Yep.
You're 100% right. Now I'm going to give you my belief. It's very simple. If we believe what we believe biblically, there has to be a governance set up for the throne to be maintained and ran from.
Yes, sir.
I personally believe, for whatever reason, that what we have done is to usher in the kingdom, the millennial kingdom, for the Son of God. And I personally believe that there will not be the level of dissension at that time. Now,
Praise God.
do with that what you will. There has to be a ruling force where we are under the King of Kings. And that's, we have the right. It's interesting he's called the King of Kings. We have the right to be kings and heirs over nations and worlds. And this governance that we have, being self-governed, you know, the sad thing, Robert, is we have to put together a team that has a requirement that somebody is in fact a citizen of a state before they get into any leadership position whatsoever. And we need to vet that. We need to be able
And
to
that's
vet
why the
that.
work you're doing, Kelby Smith, the work you are doing is so absolutely pivotal to any change that's going to happen in the structure of the republic. And that's why the
100% agree.
process that
And
you
that's
do.
why I'm focused 100% on it. That's why I'm giving it away, giving the passport process away. Anybody can have it in the republic if they hold an office. Giving it
I've
away.
been pushing it. I've been pushing it. I'm
Thank
called
you,
many
Hawkeye.
names. I'm
Just
called
know,
many
guys,
names, and it's not Hawkeye. They call me.
Gator, the Gator wrestler. Who's the other?
No, it's names that I refuse to recall or say.
Yeah, Eva, go ahead.
Hi, Kelby. Hi, everyone. How are y'all doing? Hope everything's going well. Can you hear me?
You're barely talking. I can barely hear you.
You hear me now?
Yeah, how are you?
Yeah. Just doing everything I
I
can.
can't hear you, Eva. Can you guys hear?
Yeah, not very well.
You hear me now?
Yeah, there you are a little bit.
Okay, yeah, I was
If
saying,
one quick question, you're not driving, right?
no, I'm not driving.
Okay, go ahead.
Um,
You okay?
I I'm doing everything I can to be. I think that just with the topic of conversation today, it really just kind of further solidifies just kind of where like my sentiment is. First and foremost, I'd like to just start off by saying that, these times that we have together are very precious, they're very important. And I think that, long story short, the 2030 agenda is the elephant in the room. One of those things is 15-minute cities, and amongst a slew of other things. And so my focus is that how can we speed run the process of making sure everyone gets through the LPP program efficiently, safely, smoothly, to where it's not only a duplicable process, right? But in addition to that, we are eliminating single points of failure, right? One thing that I wanted to speak to you on is to kind of get a temperature check of like where you feel like you're at with the community when it comes to duplicating yourself, duplicating your knowledge, right? I know that there's pressure that comes with being a leader, but I'm somebody that operates in the realm of, well, how can we make it more efficient? How can we take burden off of your plate while, 2xing, right? Scaling the information getting out there, the systems being more streamlined. So I really wanted to check in with that. In addition to that, I did want to kind of just speak to the use like of this time and these sessions, right? I kind of think of them like office hours because, of course, like all of us here, we added an extra investment to be live in this community. And I just pray that like moving forward, there is more space for us to kind of have that because, I don't know about y'all, but I have a lot of questions. And sometimes the questions that are asked on live get redirected to the VIP or, vice versa. And nonetheless, of course, utilizing both, but like especially with these sessions where we have each other live, we have you, Kelby, live, and I want us to just make the most out of this. The last time that, well, I'll pause there before continuing so that you can have a chance to respond.
Yeah, it's longer than the time I got to respond, but we are being hyper diligent to try to make a functional system um, to be able to address masses and to be able to have the training, the videos, the knowledge based systems, all of that. And it's been a process. It's been going on almost 6 years now. AI is a bit of a help. We can't let AI directly in the database, and we can't just bring people in randomly to hire them into positions to help support, help lead, and transition people themselves into the private. It's very difficult for us, with my experience in Republic and watching what's happened in Republic with people. It's very difficult for me to hire anybody that I don't have years and years of personal experience with, or been able to track how they got to me versus random introductions. And so, duplicating me, well, you got to duplicate the mind. You need to duplicate the systems. The sad part, Eva, is even like with Tim Turner, watching his process get completely derailed back in the day in 2008 with his UCC1 process. I watched people completely rip it apart, not able to support it, not able to help it because it went out into many hands, and there was people that didn't know what to do at certain stages or certain levels, and people did things wrong. People got in trouble. Um, and that speaks volumes. That's why I've always said to people, if you're getting my docs from anybody else, just know something. We don't know if there's been changes in those docs, and it's one word in differences. It's one word even making a change from state citizen to state national. It's one word changes that screw people over from a jurisdictional position standpoint. So it's very difficult to unleash the reins, if you will, without having controls to protect the population, the people. And so we are almost there. That's the good news. There's a lot of things, to speak to what you were saying about being able to answer questions. Maybe I need to have a separate call pertaining to that. I'm trying to with the VIP members. I was doing a 3 month thing, and it's been pushed to beyond the 31st of this month, which is the end of the third month. I was going to do a 90-day training dealing with the elements of mind, body, spirit, emotions, the physical, to help VIP members understand um, the relationship they have with the Father, the relationship they have with the world, and how they need to be interacting. Because you can have somebody jurisdictionally speaking with paperwork, um, not even know how to stand on it. And part of that is to understand who you are in your place with God. And so I really think it was important for me to push that narrative and get people strengthened up inside, scripturally speaking, to understand their position. And I think that even goes bigger than what we ever could imagine. So there's going to be a lot of different opportunities. And I think if you're needing a Q&A session, something specific, I am already providing that. And I provide it right now. It starts on, we changed it from Mondays at 4 to Tuesdays at 5 on a go forward basis. I am addressing Eva every question. And if I can't, I'm on Thursday at 4 o'clock to address every question. So I don't know what you're saying that we're not able to address the needs of the people, because it's not the majority of those people that have the question are the VIP members. And those are the ones that are getting their questions answered live. But I do want the population to know why we do what we do. And that's why I'm putting it out there on YouTube. I really want people to understand the principles of why you don't want to receive personal mail, why you're only as good as your latest contract, why you need to be careful on a new W-4, why, those very difficult to know jurisdictional position questions. But if we need to have a standardized, once every week or every other week VIP Q&A that's private, I don't have any issue with doing that. But you're the only one asking for it right now. Other people are asking for more proficient answers within the LPP. That we're working on, number one. I need our answers in the LPP to be diagrammed and specific, and maybe with a video to help people understand why. So we're working hard and fast to get a list of questions and a list of answers prepared for people that they can either browse in the knowledge base system themselves or get a specific answer into the Q&A. Is that being helpful to you?
Yeah, so I mean, I definitely want to clarify. I'm not saying that you're doing a bad job. Like, every
Oh, I
time.
know. I didn't hear that. I didn't hear that. But we're always have room for improvement. Everybody does.
Yeah, so I think for me, because I'm speaking on behalf of like other members that I've made connections with just off of me being a self-starter, because I know we don't necessarily have like a group chat, right, where we can communicate. So I've done like what I can to try to connect with those in these calls, and have made relationships outside of these calls, which I'm grateful for. Because again, we don't really have like that group chat setting, which, for example, like that's another idea I had, like, oh, I think it would
Good
be nice.
idea.
I think it'd be nice if we had like a group chat setting. That way, hey, like if you're in it, you've already shown monetary commitment that you are an exceller.
I'll
You are,
put it together. That's easy.
yeah. And then that way, any pitfalls or, success hacks that we've come across. For example, the person that I made connections with, she actually has graduated Freedom City. And so right now she's figuring out, okay, what does life look like now? What has changed? What needs to change? And what do I need to stay on top of to maintain, that status? Another thing that we talked about, because I was showing her, so before I even decided to completely commit, I was stalking you for like 2, 3 years, right? Watch all the YouTube videos, because I'm a very due diligent person. And thankfully, God willing, I knew that it was right for me to move forward. And since doing that, you know me, Kelby, I'm a very, very militant, type A, organized person. I have databases of questions every single question that I've ever asked Alex or you, I know when I asked it, when it was answered, if it hasn't been answered yet, if your response was different from Alex's or vice versa, and those fields are highlighted in yellow, letting me know, hey, those are flag questions. I need to circle back on those, whether if it was answered in text format, live format, VIP call format, or from one of your pre-recorded videos on the website. So I'm saying all these things to just better echo, because I know I sent you an email basically letting you know, hey, like I kind of built this, what I built, for my own notes from scratch. If these are templates that we can use to give our people, then that would help. I see Bill saying in the chat, transcribed answers can be saved from a searchable wiki format. The thing about it is as follows: when you're in college, you're not writing verbatim what the professor is saying. You have to put it into your own words to a certain extent. So those are what my notes are. They're not just I press transcribe and I'm letting AI run rampant. No, they are curated notes from y'all. That's how detailed I am. So I'm open and looking forward to seeing how my skills can be leveraged so that it takes pressure off of your plate, pressure off of Alex's plate, because I am, and please correct me if I'm wrong, I believe one of the pain points right now for the community is that, of course, we know y'all get asked, the same questions a lot. And I know that it would be helpful to have like an FAQ based system so that people can kind of sift through and find the answers quicker. Because that's another thing. When I first started, I had asked Alex, like, is there like like I'm a college graduate, so I always reference things to my university degrees. Upon entering a class, there's some sort of syllabus and like a walkthrough. Okay, this is what you're going to use for your homework portal versus your quiz portal versus your this, click, clack, and that. Which thankfully, like you said, it seems like y'all have been building out a system for like the past 6 years to, I guess, encompass that. But long story short, we have such a wealth of information. I thank God for you and his advocates every single day. I'm looking at it from the more so of a standpoint of how can we organize this information so that it takes off less burden on you, less burden on Alex to get the answers out there, to whereby, how the concept of a YouTube channel, like my videos are going to get played and I'm going to get paid for my videos forever off of just one video. I'm really excited to see what systems we can set up for that. That way, your points or his points and everything is almost like a central database. Because there's even questions where I've asked Alex, and then he's like, "Oh, like somebody kind of had a similar question or whatever, whatever." And in the back of my head, I'm like, "Oh my God, wouldn't it be so great if we have, an organized system to display the pitfalls that some people had or hiccups, or oh, this was worded this way in this document, can we make changes to that?" For example, I don't remember the name of the document, but I think it's from one of the contribution ones. One of the documents had something that I had a question on, and then the connection that I made, that's also a VIP member, just out of privacy, I won't disclose her name. She was like, "Oh my God, Eva had the same thing," and I was like, "Oh, they didn't change it." And in my head, I'm thinking, "Oh my gosh, like these men are slammed. They have so much going on. But what systems can we put into place to whereby as things are coming up, they're actively updated so that it doesn't create more bottlenecks in the system?" That's more so what my frame of mind is, and kind of what I had emailed you just a little while ago. I figured, well, let me just take this opportunity because I think it's important and it's timely. It's extremely timely.
Just let me address, and then I do got to go. But the bottom line is, Eva, you're 100% on. There's considerations though that a lot of people, and I'm not saying this for you, but a lot of people don't think through. Like after watching what I've seen in the Republic and after watching the infiltrations and so many different things, it's very scary for me to open doors to people and I'm not saying this about you. I'm just saying this randomly. You got to really vet people. You got to really understand their background history and have them have a personal knowledge of who they are. Secondly, software. Um, like I know that y'all don't understand this stuff, but his advocates is hosted on servers in a foreign country. His advocates is database is on a open source code that we had to develop from scratch.
Okay,
Uh,
so you have a private cloud.
yeah, we have private cloud, and
Awesome. And I was just talking
the
about
reason
that last
is,
night.
yeah, the reason is number one, we need to be able to see the source. Number two, we can't be shut down randomly. Number three, we control the systems, the control panel, the backups, the every element of it. But knowing that there are a lot of limitations that come with that, and code is one of them, which we're working through in different things. But the bottom line is, even hisadvocates.org, from a standpoint of the provider allowing for the services, we're really thinking through revamping every single component of what we're putting out, how we're putting it out. And it's a lot, Eva. It's a lot, because there's thousands of questions. Many of them sound the same, but there's always differences that need to be considered for each individual unique issue. Um, but we're really working hard to make it happen and make it better. And I would have no problem having you and a few key members in the LPP chime in and get our back office team on and let them hear you, because many of these guys are focused on things that they know of that are going to be solving these issues in the near future. It's hard to get them out there all at once, do a complete move of a website with 15 years of posts and material and so on and so forth, and then develop a network in between all that, to where we can make sure that we're always out there. In the event that they want to force us down on YouTube, we have His Advocates TV. We're always thinking redundancy. We're always thinking backup. We're always thinking those things. So just know that. But Eva, you have a lot of great suggestions, and I will definitely entertain anything that you want to talk about pertaining to the LPP. And I'd love to see your diagram and your what you have put together. I have no problem in spending some time with you and going over that. But I do got to skedaddle. Bottom line is, thank you, and just know that. And this is one of the saddest things. It's like, I don't need to, like, going back to the Republic a little bit, just as a closing comment. And Robert, for if you're still on, I I don't need to necessarily agree or understand what or agree with um, leadership, but I gotta agree with the general community, and I gotta figure out how to hold the Republic together, knowing what we have. And if we don't like something, you have every right, Robert. You have every right, Hawkeye, to speak your mind without fear of repercussions, without fear of repercussions, excuse me, without fear of being fired. You have every right. So there are some things that could be construed as wrong decisions, that I would agree with, but it doesn't mean we're able to completely throw the package away and start over. Why don't you just throw the position away and go and figure it out? And that's the one thing I would suggest is, I think the people need to come on back together and figure out the truth as it relates to the Northwest Ordinance, territory versus state, edicts versus um, what jurisdictional positions they truly have rights over. And it's not because I want to come against the Republic. Those are questions that need to be addressed and answered. And it's everybody's due process and due diligence right to know what jurisdiction somebody has. Now, from a moral position standpoint, you know, anybody in the Republic should be able to hang out with anybody they want. It's their God-given unalienable right. They can go on to meetings with other people that are speaking negatively about the Republic, negatively about the president, negative, without worrying about being fired. And I think that it's unfortunate that we're at that position to where maybe people are worried about that. Now, I don't know what you guys know, and I'm not really concerned about it. But if there's a due process issue um, on termination, let's talk about it and let's figure it out. But also, let's understand they're just doing what they believe is best. And then, unfortunately, when you have people that are operating, trying to save a nation and don't know who to trust, that's the biggest issue that we have in the Republic is, who do we trust? Who's on our team? Who truly wants to help us? Who who isn't an agent, who hasn't been reprogrammed. And I'm not making an insinuation Tim was, but I do know that there is some compromise there. And I'll just leave it at that because I don't want to degrade Tim's character, but there is compromise there. And I do know I still love him as a brother. I got plenty of brothers with compromise. Doesn't mean I don't love them. And we're going to get through this, guys. I think it's going to be at a much bigger level than you've ever really thought through. And we're all going to get humbled at the end with how stupid we feel about stupid things. So, anyway, many blessings, guys. I'm glad this conversation happened. I'm glad we were able to get out many of these points. And I wish you the very best. And Eva, we'll be chatting soon.
Yeah. We got to schedule it so I can show you my database and everything for sure. Thank you, Kobe.
100%. God bless everyone. Have a great week. I'll see you on
Thank you,
Thursday.
Kobe.
You got it.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
And when I
And
put
Kelby,
this
I'd love
out,
to,
when I put this out, forward it to the parties.
Kelby, I'd love to speak to you offline if we can when you have time.
Okay.